I was sitting in the doctor's waiting room when my phone rang. It was my only daughter, Angela. Her voice felt cold as she said, "Mom, we're leaving for Europe tomorrow. I sold your beach house and your car. We needed the money. Bye." Then she hung up. After 45 years of raising her and sacrificing for her, she dismissed me like I meant nothing. I took a deep breath and smiled, because there was something my daughter didn't know. My name is Antonia Brooks. I am 71 years old, and until that moment, I believed I knew my daughter. I had become a widow 6 months earlier. My husband, Robert, died of a heart attack while we were having breakfast, just as we had done every morning for 45 years. That day, he served me coffee with cream and toast, kissed my forehead, and said, "Good morning, my love." Those were his last words. After his death, Angela seemed more present in my life. She visited me 3 times a week, helped with the funeral, and went grocery shopping with me. She even suggested I see a doctor for a checkup. "You need to take better care of yourself now that you're alone," she would say with a smile I once believed was love, but now knew was convenience. The beach house had been our refuge for years. Robert and I bought it when Angela was 15 after years of hard work. Every summer, we spent time there celebrating birthdays and holidays. Angela brought her boyfriends, and later her husband, Edward. I cooked, cleaned, and cared for everyone. I never imagined she would see it as nothing more than money. Then there was the car, Robert's old Ford pickup truck. He washed it every Sunday, changed the oil regularly, and parked it in the same shaded spot. Angela knew how much that truck meant to me. It was the last thing I had left of him, and his scent still remained inside. After the call ended, I stayed seated on that uncomfortable green plastic chair. For the first time in months, I didn't cry. Instead, I felt calm. That was when I remembered something important. 3 days before he died, Robert had given me a manila envelope. "Put this in your dresser drawer. If something happens to me, open it when you feel ready," he said. I stored it away and later forgot about it during the funeral and grief. But it was still waiting for me at home. The nurse called me in and the doctor examined me. He said I was healthy for my age and only needed more rest and better food. I nodded, but my thoughts were on Angela's cold voice and the envelope. I knew Edward was likely behind everything. He had never liked me. I left the clinic and walked slowly to the bus stop. According to Angela, I no longer had a car. As I waited, I smiled quietly. My daughter believed she had taken everything from me, but she was wrong. Robert had always planned ahead. When I reached home, I went straight to my bedroom and opened the dresser drawer. The manila envelope was exactly where I had left it. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Robert had written my name on the front in his neat handwriting. I sat on the bed we had shared for years and opened the envelope. Inside were legal papers, property deeds, bank certificates, and a handwritten letter from Robert. Tears filled my eyes as I read his words. "My dear Antonia, if you are reading this, I am no longer with you. Forgive me for keeping this from you. I wanted to protect you from worry. Over the years, I invested our savings wisely. We don't only own the beach house. We own 6 other properties, including the apartment building where Angela and Edward live. We also own shares in 3 companies worth more than I could ever imagine." Robert wrote that I was rich, that I always had been, and now it was official on paper. My hands trembled as I reviewed the documents. There were property deeds from different parts of the city, a downtown condo, a small coastal motel, and the 20-story apartment building where my daughter lived. Robert had quietly owned everything for the past 10 years, placing it under a company I had never heard of. According to the papers, I was the sole heir. There were also bank statements from accounts I didn't know existed, showing amounts that felt unreal. Robert had worked as a bus driver for 40 years, yet he had also been a careful and intelligent investor. Every dollar we saved, every sacrifice we made, he had multiplied in silence. In his letter, Robert explained that he kept everything secret so I would never worry about money, and so Angela would never know our true financial situation. He wrote that if she knew how much we had, her behavior would change, and he wanted her love to be genuine. The irony was painful. Our daughter had abandoned us believing we had nothing, when in reality, We had everything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through the house, touching the old furniture and decorations Angela always complained about. I studied the family photos on the wall, especially one of Angela at 5 years old, laughing on Robert's lap. I wondered when that loving child had become so distant and calculating. Early the next morning, the phone rang. It was Angela. Her voice was softer this time, but I recognized the tone. She said they had transferred the money from the house and the car and deposited my share into my account. She explained it wasn't much, but it should last me a few months while I looked for something smaller. My share? I asked calmly. Yes, Mom. We gave you 30%. That's fair. We need the rest for an investment in Europe. Edward has a great opportunity there. 30% of my own belongings. Asked when they were leaving. She said later that afternoon and added that they would be gone for at least 6 months. She assured me they would help me find a small apartment when they returned. I wished her a safe trip. She thanked me for understanding, told me she loved me, and ended the call. I stood there holding the phone, and for the first time since Robert died, I laughed. The situation was almost ridiculous. My daughter had taken my home, sold my husband's truck, spoken to me with complete condescension, all to fund a European adventure. But what hurt most wasn't the money. It was how easily she had erased me from her life. I checked my bank account and saw the deposit. To them it probably seemed generous, but to me it felt insulting. They had sold the beach house far below its value and let go of Robert's truck for almost nothing. That afternoon, I watched from my window as Angela and Edward loaded their suitcases into a cab. They laughed, kissed, and talked excitedly. They never once looked toward my window or said goodbye. After the cab drove away, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea and Robert's documents spread across the table. I needed to decide what to do. I could reclaim everything immediately, but something told me there was a better way to handle it. I called Mr. Peterson, the lawyer who had handled Robert's affairs. He answered warmly and invited me to his office the next morning. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in months. I dreamed of Robert sitting in his favorite chair, reading the newspaper. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "It's about time, my love. It's about time you stood up for yourself." I woke up with a strange feeling. It wasn't happiness, but it wasn't the deep sadness I had carried for months either. It felt like determination. For the first time since Robert's death, I had a clear purpose. I was going to take back what was mine, but not in the way Angela expected. The next morning, I dressed with more care than usual. I wore my wine-colored dress, the one Robert always said made me look elegant. I fixed my hair, applied a little makeup, and when I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman I hadn't seen in a long time, a strong woman. Mr. Peterson's office was downtown, in an old but elegant building with marble floors and tall windows. He greeted me warmly, but when I showed him the documents, his expression changed. "Mrs. Brooks, this is far more than I imagined." Robert was a very intelligent man. "I know," I said. "I've read everything. What I need to know is what I can do legally." He explained that all the documents were valid and that I was the rightful owner of everything. He also confirmed what I had suspected. Angela had no legal right to sell the beach house, making the sale fraudulent. "We can reclaim the house immediately and take legal action against your daughter," he said.
No, irreplía.
I don't want legal action. I want to handle this quietly. I want everything to stay secret for now. He looked surprised but nodded. I asked him to discreetly recover the beach house and help me gain full control over all my properties, especially the building where Angela lived. He assured me it could be done, though it would take a few weeks. I also asked that my involvement remain hidden. When I left his office, it felt like waking up from a long sleep. The city moved as usual around me, but my life had changed. I had a plan. The following weeks were the strangest of my life. Officially, I was a poor widow abandoned by her daughter. In secret, I was reclaiming everything that belonged to me. Mr. Peterson worked efficiently and updated me regularly. I stayed in my house. It was mine, after all. Each morning, I had breakfast at the same table where Robert and I had shared decades of life, then walked through the neighborhood. People greeted me with pity and curiosity. One afternoon, My neighbor Aurora approached me. She asked if it was true that Angela had gone to Europe and left me alone. I confirmed it. She offered help with food and errands, and I thanked her, assuring her I was fine. She looked at me with sympathy, the same look everyone had given me since the funeral. Similar conversations happened everywhere. The butcher, the baker, the shopkeeper. They all spoke softly, and I smiled politely. Inside, I felt strangely amused, as if I were living a double life. One Wednesday, Mr. Peterson called with good news. He had successfully nullified the sale of the beach house. The buyers were refunded, and the house was mine again. Control over the apartment building would take another 2 weeks, but everything was moving forward. After the call, I thought about Angela. She had been in Europe for 3 weeks, and I hadn't heard from her at all. To her, I no longer existed. But I knew that would change. I decided to visit the beach house. I took the same bus route Robert and I had taken countless times. The house looked just as I remembered, small, cream-colored, with a porch facing the ocean. I sat across the street and watched it for a long time, remembering summers with Angela as a child, Robert cooking on the grill, friends, boyfriends, and eventually Edward. An older man came out of the house and asked if I was all right. I told him I was just remembering and that I had known the former owners well. He explained that they had been told the elderly owner was sick and needed to sell quickly. When the sale was declared illegal, they had to return the house. I left feeling heavy. It wasn't just the money. It was how easily Angela had lied, how she had used a false story about my illness to justify everything. To her, I wasn't a person anymore. I was an obstacle. That night, I called Mr. Peterson again. I need your help with one more thing, I said. I want Robert's truck back too. That will be more difficult, Mrs. Brooks, Mr. Peterson said. The truck was in your name, but your daughter had power of attorney that allowed her to sell it. How is that possible? I asked. Apparently, you signed that document a few months after your husband's death. Suddenly, everything made sense. That was when Angela had started planning all of this. I vaguely remembered signing papers she had brought me, saying they were needed for funeral and inheritance matters. I had been overwhelmed by grief and signed without reading. I felt ashamed of my own naivety. I understand, I said. Is there any way to get it back? We can try, he replied. But we'll need to prove you were deceived when you signed. Let's do it, I said. I want everything back. Over the next few weeks, I fell into a strange routine. In the mornings, I was the poor widow everyone knew, running errands and chatting with neighbors. In the afternoons, I became someone else. I studied Robert's documents, spoke with Mr. Peterson, and planned carefully. I learned more about money and business than I ever imagined. Robert had been far more intelligent than I realized. Every investment had been carefully chosen. The apartment building where Angela lived wasn't just bringing in rent. It was in an area rapidly increasing in value. I also discovered that Edward was deeply in debt. He had taken loans using the apartment as collateral, unaware that he wasn't the legal owner. Once the banks uncovered the truth, he would be in serious trouble. One Friday, Mr. Peterson called with good news. Mrs. Brooks, everything is finalized. You now have full control of all your properties. And I managed to recover Robert's truck. The buyer agreed to return it for a small compensation. Excellent, I said. Now I need one more thing. I want you to send my daughter a letter. What kind of letter? An eviction notice. There was a long pause. Mrs. Brooks, are you certain? Completely. She decided I didn't matter. Now she will learn otherwise. Should I send it to Europe?
No.
Deliver it when she returns. I believe that will be very soon. I was right. That same afternoon, Aurora rushed over with gossip. Edward was in trouble with the bank, and Angela was being forced to return from Europe. Edward had lied about the business trip. There was no investment at all. He had simply fled his debts. That evening, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea, looking up at the stars. Robert used to say the stars were the souls of those who had lived fully. I thanked him quietly for still watching over me. The next morning, Mr. Peterson called again. Your daughter arrived last night. She's alone. Edward stayed in Europe. Did you send the letter?
Yes.
She'll receive it today. Later that day, Aurora confirmed Angela had returned to her apartment looking exhausted and distraught, carrying only one suitcase. She didn't even have her keys and had to ask the superintendent to let her in. That afternoon, Mr. Peterson called once more. The eviction notice was delivered personally. She has 30 days to vacate. She is my daughter, he added carefully. My daughter threw me out of my life with a 2-minute phone call. I replied. Actions have consequences. That night, I barely slept, imagining Angela's confusion and panic when she read the letter. The next morning at exactly 8 o'clock, my phone rang. It was Angela, her voice shaking. Mom, I need to talk to you. I got a letter saying I have to leave my apartment in 30 days. It has to be a mistake. Do you know anything about this? An eviction notice? I said calmly. How strange. Who sent it? Some company I've never heard of, Robert Investments Incorporated. Do you know it? I've never heard of it. Are you sure the letter is real? That's what I'm trying to find out. Mom. Edward left me in Europe. He ran off with another woman and now this. I don't understand what's happening. That was the confirmation. Edward had abandoned her, probably when the money ran out or when he realized his legal problems back home were worse than he expected. Poor Angela. She had given up her family for a man who was never worth it. I'm so sorry, honey, I said. Where are you now? I'm in the apartment, but I don't know for how long. Mom, can I come see you? I need to talk to someone. I don't have anyone else. The irony was perfect. Now that the man she chose over me was gone, she remembered she still had a mother. Of course, honey. Come whenever you want. After hanging up, I looked at myself in the mirror. I needed to look exactly how she expected. I put on a simple gray dress, tied my hair into a neat bun, and practiced the expression of a worried, tired mother. Angela arrived about an hour later. When I opened the door, I was shocked by how bad she looked. She was thinner, her eyes were dark and swollen from crying, and her clothes were wrinkled and untidy. Mom, she said softly. For a moment, it seemed like she might hug me, but she hesitated.
Come in, Annie.
Would you like some coffee? Yes, please. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I had read Robert's papers weeks earlier. Angela looked small and lost, like she had when she was a child. I'm sorry for how I treated you, she said. I said terrible things. And now, I have no one. What happened with Edward? I asked. He left me in Paris with a 25-year-old waitress. There was never any business in Europe.
He lied.
He used the money from selling your house to run away. And the debts. So many debts, Mom. Loans taken out for years using the apartment as collateral. Now I find out it wasn't even his. I don't know, honey, I said carefully. Property matters can be very complicated. The banks are coming after me, she continued. They say I'm responsible too. And now this eviction notice. I don't have money, a job, or anywhere to live. She began to cry, real tears of desperation. For a moment, my heart softened. I wanted to hold her and protect her. But then I remembered her cold voice on the phone, the way she erased me so easily. Did you talk to a lawyer? I can't afford one. Edward took the last of the money when he left. So, what are you going to do? She hesitated. I thought maybe I could stay with you for a while, just until I find a job. There it was. After everything she had done, she now wanted my help. Of course, honey, I said. This will always be your home. She looked at me in surprise. Really, Mom? After everything? You're my daughter, I replied. That won't change. She hugged me then, tightly and desperately. I hugged her back, but this time my embrace was careful, measured. Angela left later that afternoon to collect some belongings. I stayed behind, thinking about how perfectly everything was unfolding. She saw me as a helpless mother who needed sympathy. She had no idea what was coming next. That night, I called Mr. Peterson and asked him to investigate Edward's debts and keep everything strictly confidential. My plan is simple, I told him. I want to save my daughter, But first she needs to understand what it means to lose everything. I poured myself a glass of the wine Robert had saved for special moments. It felt like the right time. Angela moved in the next day with 2 suitcases and a cardboard box. I watched her unpack in her old bedroom, humiliation clear in every movement. "Mom, I found this at the apartment," she said, holding out a manila envelope with my name on it. It was another envelope from Robert, smaller and newer. I kept my expression calm. "Your father never mentioned this," I said. Inside was a short letter and a small key. It spoke of a safety deposit box at the central bank and said its contents might help our daughter, if used wisely. Angela read over my shoulder. "A safety deposit box? Dad never told me about this." "He didn't tell me either," I lied. "Maybe there's something important inside," she said urgently. "Something that could help us." The desperation in her voice was unmistakable. Angela was clinging to any hope she could find, and I decided to let her hold on a little longer before revealing the full truth. After a brief pause, I agreed. "Okay," I said. "We'll go tomorrow." That night, we had dinner together for the first time in months. Angela cooked, trying to be useful, but the meal tasted of guilt and desperation. She told me everything that had happened in Europe, and each detail was worse than the last. "Edward lied about everything," she said. "Not just the business, but the debts too. He owes more than $100,000. And he used my name for some of the loans." "How could he do that?" "He forged my signature. When we married, I gave him documents to handle our banking. I never imagined he'd use them like this." "Can you prove you didn't know?" "I don't know. The banks say I'm responsible anyway because we were married. And I don't even know where Edward is." He disappeared. Edward had run exactly as I expected, leaving Angela alone with the consequences. In a way, he had done me a favor. "I'm so sorry, honey," I said. "I thought he loved me," she replied through tears. "I thought we were building a future. I was just a way for him to get money and documents." She cried again, blaming herself. I resisted the urge to tell her that I had seen the signs long ago. "Love can blind us," I said gently. "But I didn't just ruin my life," she said. "I ruined yours too. I took your house, your truck, everything. Now we're both poor because of me." If only you knew, I thought. At that moment, I could have fixed everything with one phone call. But it wasn't time yet. The next day, we went to the bank. Angela was nervous and hopeful. I continued playing the role of a confused widow. The clerk opened safety deposit box 247. Inside were jewels, rings, necklaces, bracelets, earrings. Some were family heirlooms, others I had never seen before. There was also a letter explaining each piece and its value. Angela gasped. "Mom, this is worth a fortune." According to Robert's letter, the jewels were worth around $200,000. It was a lot, but only a fraction of what I owned. "What should we do?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "They're family memories." "We could sell some," she replied quickly. "You could get your beach house back, and I could pay Edward's debts." Even now, her instinct was to fix Edward's mess. "Are you sure you want to use your father's inheritance to pay his debts?" "What choice do I have?" she said. "If I don't pay soon, the banks will take everything." We brought the jewels home. Angela laid them out on the table, calculating their value piece by piece. Watching her reduce a lifetime of memories to numbers was painful. A few days later, she counted the cash on the table. "I managed to get about $180,000. It's enough to cover the most urgent debts." "Are you sure?" "I have no choice," she said. "If I don't act now, everything could be taken." The irony was almost cruel. She was afraid of losing a house I owned, paying the debts of a man who had abandoned her, using jewels left by the man who had secretly built a fortune big enough to save her. "I spoke to a financial advisor," she added. "She said to pay the debts with real collateral first." Angela had changed. The woman who once sold my belongings without asking was now careful and deliberate with every decision. The suffering had made Angela more responsible, but also more fragile. One night, while she organized debt papers on the table, I received a call from Mr. Peterson. Mrs. Brooks, I have a full report on Edward's debts. The situation is worse than we thought. How much worse? He owes over $200,000 to banks and private lenders. What's more serious is that he used falsified documents with your daughter's signature. Legally, Angela is responsible. Can she get out of it? It's possible if we prove fraud, but it will take time and a very good lawyer. Around $50,000, with no guarantee. And if she pays the debts, that would be faster, but I doubt she has that kind of money. I want you to prepare everything to free my daughter from these debts, I said. But don't tell her yet. I'll pay you. This must be handled carefully. After the call, I found Angela sitting quietly, staring at the jewels. She looked like a child who had broken something precious and didn't know how to fix it. What are you thinking about? I asked.
Dad, she said.
He would be so disappointed in me. He taught me responsibility, family loyalty, and I did the opposite. I abandoned you for a man who lied to me. I sold our memories for money. For the first time, her regret was real. People make mistakes, I said. What matters is learning from them. But how do I fix what I've done? That was the question I had been waiting for. Still, it wasn't time to reveal everything. She needed to reach the bottom first. Over the next few days, Angela sold most of the jewels, keeping only my engagement ring and her grandmother's necklace. I watched her research prices, negotiate, and prepare herself for each sale. It was painful but necessary. I got $180,000, she said one afternoon, counting the bills. It's enough to cover the most urgent debts. Are you sure? I don't have a choice. If I don't act now, they'll take everything. Even this house could be at risk. The irony was sharp. She feared losing a house I owned, paying the debts of a man who had abandoned her, with jewels left by the man who had secretly built a fortune that could save her. How will you decide what to pay first? A financial advisor said to prioritize debts tied to property. She had changed. The daughter who once sold my belongings without asking was now careful with every decision. That same night, Mr. Peterson called again. We found Edward, he said. He's in Paris. He's trying to get residency through a fake marriage. More importantly, we have proof that he deliberately forged your daughter's documents and fled the country. So Angela can be cleared?
Yes.
With this evidence, she won't be responsible for any of those debts. It was perfect. Start the process immediately, I said. Don't tell my daughter until everything is finished. When I hung up, Angela looked at me. Who was that? Wrong number, I replied easily. Lying had become simple. By day, I was the poor abandoned mother she believed me to be. By night, I was quietly arranging her rescue. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Angela struggle, stretching money, negotiating with creditors, searching for work with ruined credit. It was cruel, but it was teaching her what comfort had hidden from her all these years. I had 3 interviews today, she said one evening, exhausted. Only one offered me a job, cleaning offices at night. Will you take it? I have to. Seeing my daughter, who had lived comfortably for decades, preparing to clean offices broke my heart and filled me with pride. I don't want to be a burden anymore, she said. This is your home, I replied. No, she said quietly. It's yours. I'm just grateful to be here. One night, while Angela was at work, Aurora visited. She studied the photos on the wall before turning to me. Did you expect Angela to come back like this? Life changes people, I said. She's different now, Aurora continued. Not just sad, humble. She's learned something important. She's my daughter, I said. And you're stronger than she ever realized, Aurora replied. She needs to respect you, not just need you. Aurora was right. That had been the point of my entire plan. I didn't want Angela to return out of desperation. I wanted her to come back with genuine respect and mature love. And how do you think that's happening? Aurora asked one evening. I think it's already happening, I said. I've seen her these past few days. The way she talks to me now is completely different. She's no longer the daughter who gave orders or treated me like a burden. She's becoming a grown woman, genuinely grateful to have a mother like me. That night, Angela returned from her job tired, but there was a new dignity in her posture. She had earned those few dollars herself, and it mattered to her. "How was your first day?" I asked. "Hard," she admitted, "but not as bad as I thought. The other ladies helped me a lot. Mrs. Johnson taught me tricks to clean more efficiently." "Mrs. Johnson?"
Yes.
"She's 60 and has been cleaning offices for 20 years. Her husband left her with 3 small children, and this job gave her independence and dignity. She told me something that made me think a lot. There are 2 kinds of people who end up doing this work, those who never had opportunities and those who ruin the opportunities they had." She asked me which group I belonged to. And I told her the truth. I had everything, a loving family, a stable home, an inheritance, and I ruined it all by following a worthless man. She laughed and said, "Well, honey, at least you know why you're here. That puts you 1 step ahead." Angela poured herself a glass of water and sat at the table. "Mom, these past weeks have been the hardest of my life, but also the most important," she said. "Why?" "Because I finally understand what really matters. It's not money, luxury, or impressing people. It's having people who genuinely love you, who are there when everything falls apart." "Angela, no. Let me finish. You have every right to hate me for what I did. I abandoned you, took everything Dad left you, treated you as a nuisance. And now you're here expecting forgiveness and care. I already forgave you, Mom, but I haven't forgiven myself. I won't until I prove I've truly changed." The next morning, Mr. Peterson called. "Mrs. Brooks, excellent news. The legal process is almost complete. We can get your daughter out of all Edward's debts." It was time. After weeks of watching Angela struggle, the moment had arrived to show her she had never been alone. "Mr. Peterson, arrange a meeting. It's time for my daughter to know the whole truth." He scheduled it for Friday morning. I told Angela we would meet a lawyer who could help with her legal issues, leaving out the full details. She agreed, nervous about the cost. At the office, Angela was dressed in her best clothes, now slightly loose on her thinner frame. She fidgeted, expecting more bad news. "Mrs. Brooks, Miss Brooks, thank you for coming," Mr. Peterson greeted us. "Thank you," Angela said cautiously. "But my finances are complicated. I probably can't afford much." "That's what we're here for," he said, handing her a thick folder. Angela opened it, eyes scanning quickly. Confusion turned to shock. "These documents, Edward forged my signature? There's proof of fraud? I'm not responsible." "That's right," Mr. Peterson confirmed. "We found sufficient evidence that you were a victim of identity fraud. But who paid for this investigation? I don't have money for it. It was my moment." I took a deep breath. "Angela, there's something I need to tell you. Your father left me more than you ever knew. Much more." "Mr. Peterson, show her the other documents," I instructed. He handed her a second folder. Property deeds, bank statements, investment certificates, the full fortune Robert had secretly built. Angela read in stunned silence. Confusion, disbelief, shock, comprehension. "Mom, you're the owner of the building where I lived?"
Yes.
"And other properties, bank accounts, investments." "So when I sold the beach house, it was mine? The sale was fraudulent. I already got it back." "How long have you known this?" "Since the day you called from the doctor's office." "You could solve all my problems while I was crying every night?" "Yes." Angela closed the folders, tears brimming. "Why, Mom? Why let me suffer when you could have helped?" "Because you needed to learn something you couldn't any other way," I said. "The value of family, respect, responsibility. When you abandoned me, it wasn't just money you took. It was dignity, love, trust." Angela cried, but these were not self-pitying tears. They were understanding. "I abandoned you when you needed me most."
Yes.
"I treated you like garbage."
Yes.
"And you saved me anyway." "Yes, but not as you expected. I didn't save you with money, letting you repeat mistakes. I let you hit rock bottom so you could learn to save yourself." Mr. Peterson intervened discreetly. "Miss Brooks, your mother has paid all legal expenses to free you from Edward's debts. She has recovered all properties sold fraudulently. You are completely free of legal problems. And the cleaning job?
I asked. You can quit if you want, I said.
I won't, she replied. It's teaching me things I never learned. The value of effort, the dignity of honest work, the importance of every dollar earned. Her eyes met mine. It wasn't the look of a daughter in need. It was the look of a grown woman who respected another woman. Do you forgive me, Mom? I forgave you long ago. The question is, can you forgive yourself? I don't know. I did unforgivable things. People make mistakes, Angela. What matters is what we do after recognizing them. Mr. Peterson left us alone. We sat in silence, letting the weight of everything sink in. Even if you didn't have all this money, Angela said finally, even if you really were the poor widow I thought you were, I would have learned the same lesson. What lesson? That there is nothing more valuable than someone who loves you unconditionally. No matter how much I ruined my life, I had a home with you. That never changes. That will never change, Angela. And I can never take that love for granted again, she said. I have to earn it every day, with respect, gratitude, actions, not just words. We left Mr. Peterson's office changed. We were no longer mother and daughter bound only by blood. We were two grown women who had chosen each other after the hardest test imaginable. In the weeks that followed, we rebuilt, but not in the way Angela expected. She chose to keep her night cleaning job. Mom, I need to finish what I started, she said. I can't just go back to comfort as if nothing happened. Are you sure? I asked. It's not a punishment, she said. It's a lesson I need to complete. It was a way of remembering who she had been and who she wanted to be now. I watched Angela put on her work uniform, something unthinkable just months ago when she lived in a luxury condo with Edward. But there was something different in her posture, in the way she moved. She was no longer the broken woman who had arrived at my door crying. She had found dignity in honest work. Aurora came to visit that afternoon, as she had every few days since Angela returned. Antonia, there are some strange rumors going around the neighborhood, she said. What kind of rumors? People say you're not as poor as we thought. Someone saw Angela leaving an elegant lawyer's office downtown and then paying off all her debts at the bank. They say you got your beach house back and somehow solved all of Angela's legal problems. That must have cost a lot of money. Aurora knew me too well to be fooled for long. What exactly do you want to know? I asked, pouring tea. I want to know if my friend of 40 years has been lying about her situation. I took a slow sip, then spoke honestly. Robert left me far more than anyone knew, Aurora. Much more. How much more? She asked, stunned. Enough that Angela and I never have to worry about money again. Aurora was silent, processing. And you pretended to be poor all these months because Angela needed to learn something she couldn't learn any other way? I told her the whole story, Angela's cruel phone call, my plan of silent revenge, weeks of watching her hit rock bottom, and the final revelation in Mr. Peterson's office. Antonia, that's brilliant and terrible at the same time, Aurora said. Terrible.
Yes.
You let your own daughter suffer when you could have helped her immediately. But brilliant because I understand why you did it. You do.
Yes.
Angela needed to learn the value of what she had lost. If you'd just given her money, she would have learned that someone will always rescue her from the consequences of her mistakes.
Exactly.
But didn't it hurt to see her suffer? Every day, every night, I saw her cry. Every morning, I watched her get up tired and defeated. But I knew that if I rescued her too soon, she wouldn't learn the full lesson. And do you think she learned it? Look for yourself. Angela knows she now has enough money to live comfortably, but she chose to keep her job. She could move somewhere better, but she stays here with me. She doesn't have to worry about debts, but she's using her own savings to help other women in similar situations. She's helping others? Aurora smiled.
Yes.
She became friends with the ladies she works with and uses some of the money she earns to help a coworker struggling to pay for her son's daycare. That's not the Angela who went to Europe. No, she's not. This Angela understands that money is a tool, not a goal. Dignity comes from work and respect, not possessions. That night, Angela returned from work and found me reading in the living room. "Mom, I have to tell you something," she said. "What is it?" "Today, Mrs. Johnson asked if I'm the daughter of the rich lady from the north side of town." "What did you tell her?" "I said yes, that you have enough money, that I don't have to work." "And do you know what she asked next?"
What?
Why I was still working. I explained that I needed to prove I could stand on my own 2 feet. She laughed and said, "Honey, that's the difference between being rich and acting rich. Your mom taught you how to be truly rich. She's very wise."
Yes.
And she made me understand something important. It's not about how much money you have, but how you use it and relate to it. Angela sat beside me. "Mom, I've made a decision. I'm going to keep living here with you, but not as a daughter returning home. I want to stay as a grown woman who chooses to share her life with her mother." "What's the difference?" "I'll pay my share of expenses, contribute to the upkeep of the house, and treat this as a partnership between two independent women who love and respect each other." "You don't need to." "Yes, I do. I want our relationship to be different. Before, I took your love for granted. Now, I want to earn it every day with respect, gratitude, and action. And your job. I'll keep working, but not cleaning offices forever. I want to go back to school, step by step, earning every opportunity. I want to study social work. So many people go through hardships with no one to support them. I want to use what we have to help other women facing situations like mine." It was perfect. Angela had not only learned to value what she had, but found a way to turn her experience into something constructive. "And Edward?" I asked. "Mr. Peterson told me he's in prison in France for the fraudulent marriage. He'll be deported soon, but honestly, Mom, I don't care. That part of my life is over." "You feel no resentment?"
No.
Edward did me a favor without knowing it. Without his betrayal, I'd never have hit rock bottom. Without hitting rock bottom, I wouldn't truly value what I have. That night, for the first time in months, I went to bed completely at peace. My plan had worked perfectly. Angela had emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Robert would have been proud. 6 months later, life had found a new balance neither of us could have imagined. Angela finished her social work degree with excellent grades, and I used some of my resources to establish a foundation to help women facing domestic violence and financial abandonment. "Mom, the letter from the university arrived," Angela said one morning, holding an envelope. "I was accepted into the master's program. I start next semester, but I want to pay for it with my own savings from my city job." "Are you sure? We can easily afford it." "I know, but I need to do it on my own. It's part of who I am now." Aurora visited that afternoon, as she had every Friday for months. "Antonia, I have to confess something," she said, pouring tea. "At first, I thought you were cruel to Angela. But now I think you're the wisest mother I've ever known. Look at your daughter. Really look at her." And she was right. The Angela studying in the living room was unrecognizable from the one who left for Europe. This Angela had serenity, confidence, and independence born from her own effort, not material possessions. "She's even helping a family at the grocery store," Aurora said, smiling. "That's my daughter," I said, proud. That night, as Angela and I dined on the porch, a new tradition, we shared stories, plans, and simply enjoyed each other's company. "Mom," Angela said, cutting her salad, "I received a letter today. From Edward." I tensed. "From where?" "From prison in France. He was sentenced to 2 years for marriage fraud. He wants my forgiveness." "And how do you feel?" "Honestly, nothing. No anger, no sadness, no desire for revenge. That Angela is gone. This Angela has nothing to say to him." I was impressed. She had developed a strength that came from hitting rock bottom and standing back up. "Do you know what this whole experience taught me, Mom?" she asked. I smiled, knowing she now truly understood. "What I realized is that true love isn't about telling you what you want to hear. True love is about teaching you what you need to learn, even when it hurts. It's a hard lesson, but a necessary one. Edward told me what I wanted to hear. He made me feel special, convinced me I deserved a life of luxury, without effort. You, however, taught me that real wealth comes from hard work, respect, and genuine relationships. That night, after Angela went to her room to study, I sat alone on the porch, staring at the stars, thinking of Robert. I had promised him I would take care of our daughter, and for the first time, I felt I had truly kept that promise. I hadn't cared for her by giving her money when she needed it. I had cared for her by teaching her to care for herself. I hadn't saved her by solving her problems. I had saved her by letting her learn to solve them on her own. The next day was Sunday, and we planned to visit the beach house together for the first time since I had regained it. Angela had hesitated before, saying she needed time to process everything that had happened. "Are you ready?" I asked as we got into the truck. "I think so," she replied. The trip was quiet but comfortable. When we arrived, Angela paused, looking at the house where we had spent so many family summers. "It looks exactly the same," she said finally. "Some things don't change, but others do. I am not the same person who sold this house." We went inside together. The house was clean and tidy, just as Robert and I had kept it. Angela walked through each room, touching the furniture and studying the family photos on the walls. "Mom, I want to apologize," she said. "You already apologized, honey." "No, I want to apologize specifically for this house. Not just for selling it, but for reducing all our family memories to a commercial transaction. It's forgiven. This house represents 40 years of family summers, birthdays, and Christmases. Your father built that porch with his own hands. You planted that garden. I learned to swim at that beach. And you turned it all into money to fund the adventure of a worthless man." She sat on the sofa where Robert used to read on Sunday mornings. "Do you know what hurts me the most?" "What?" "That when I sold it, I didn't feel anything. It was just another property. Now, being here again, I can feel Dad in every corner. I can hear his laughter, smell his morning coffee, see his reading glasses on the table. He is here, Angela. He has always been here." "I know," she said softly. "And I also know he would be proud of how you handled all of this." We spent the entire day at the house cooking together, cleaning and fixing little things. It felt like a ritual of reconnection, not just with the house, but with the values it represented. As the sun began to set, we sat on the porch Robert had built, looking out at the ocean. "Mom, I have a proposal," Angela said. "What is it?" I asked. "I want us to turn this house into a temporary shelter for women leaving domestic violence situations, a place where they can stay while they rebuild their lives." It was the perfect idea. Robert would have loved knowing that his beach house was helping other families. "I think that's beautiful, honey. We can use some of the foundation's resources to maintain it, and I can oversee the program through my work," I said. "Are you sure you want to turn our family sanctuary into that, Mom?" she asked. "The best sanctuaries are the ones that are shared," I replied. "Dad always said a house isn't truly a home until it opens its doors to people who need love." He was right. Robert had always been generous with our home, welcoming relatives, friends, and neighbors in need. That night, we returned home with a new project and a completely renewed relationship. We were no longer mother and daughter united by obligation or need. We were two women consciously choosing to build a life together, grounded in love, respect, and a shared purpose. Before falling asleep that night, I spoke to Robert silently. "We did it, my love. Our daughter finally understands what truly matters." For the first time since his death, I felt his presence respond. "I always knew you would. You're both stronger than you think." Justice had arrived, not as revenge, but as education, not as punishment, but as transformation. In the end, we had gained something far more valuable than money. We had built an authentic relationship on a foundation strong enough to withstand any future crisis. Did you enjoy my story? Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked it, you can support me with a super thanks so I can continue sharing more stories like this. Thank you for your support. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. On the screen, you'll also find 2 new life stories I highly recommend. There's much more on my channel, so don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story, with love and respect.